Janab Zahid Rafiq Saab, Chairman FDHL, Malik Aslam Saab, Chief Operations Officer of the group, Brigadier Abid Kabir Chima Saab, Head Business Development of the group, our guest of honor, fellow allottees, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, it gives me a great pleasure to me and to my team to be amongst you today in this allotment ceremony of letters to some of us in the capital smart city. Capital smart city, which is truly a city of the future, a modern, smart, beautiful setting in which we are convening today. And it really symbolizes the best of the best urban living standards which are equitable to anywhere in the world. It is also a reflection of the leadership and the management of the founders of these groups, FDHL and Habib Rafiq, to visualize the future and the needs of the residents in their housing plans. In this city of dreams, we are going to establish a Gandhara center, which will be a cultural hub, a soul that Brigadier Abid talked about, a cultural hub of the smart city. Why I say cultural hub and why this name Gandhara? Bear with me to explain very briefly this to you. Gandhara, the name Gandhara actually comes from Gandhara's region, Gandhara civilization, and Gandhara art. This is the region which expanded, stretched from eastern Afghanistan up to the river Jhelum. From 800 BC to 500 AD, which is a span of about 1300 years, that this region was called Gandhara region. And the most important urban dwellings of Gandhara region were Kabul, Peshawar, Swat, Charsada, which at that time also served as a capital of Gandhara region and was used to be called as Pushka Kalavati and Texla. So these were the urban centers of the Gandhara region. And actually, when we talk, where we are meeting today in capital smart city, it is actually located in the ancient Gandhara region. So it makes so much sense to actually establish in the heart of capital smart city a Gandhara center which would serve as the art and culture nucleus for the city. This region came to be known as Gandhara, and it had a footfall of the superpowers of those times, whether it was Persians, whether it was Greeks. And this is the place where actually the Buddhism actually saw its zenith from the 1st to the 5th century AD. when Ashoka, the greatest kings, Hindu kings, who was born Hindu, but who actually converted to Buddhism and migrated from Patna of today in India to Texla. And Texla in Sanskrit means Taksa Sila, which means a city of stone cutters. And Texla has continued that tradition of artisanship over the centuries and continue to be par excellence artisanship which it still houses in the form of artisans which have actually continued this artisanship over generations. Capital Smart City, as I said, falls in Gandhara region, and whereas the Capital Smart City is imbibing the best of the best modern technologies, all which makes a city smart is there, it just makes so much sense to also establish a cultural and the art center, which will actually serve many purposes. I would like to also announce that in this very modern, technologically high-end city, we have also visualized to establish a Gandhara center, which will be made up of all the local materials, benefiting from the local expertise and artisanship in stone masonry and sculpturing. So this will be a statement which would reflect the history, the tradition, the culture, and our linkage from where we come from. Alhamdulillah, we are a Muslim majority country and we are very proud of it. But this does not mean that we also forget the historical and cultural backings where we come from. So what we are planning is to actually establish Gandhara Center here, which will actually, and stay tuned, which will be growing out of this soil, a soil which has bones of Greeks and Persians and Huns and Chinese and all Buddhists who traveled in this territory over the centuries. On 26th of August, 2021, Texla Stone Art, of which the Gandhara Center is a project which is a joint venture between Capital Smart City and Texla Stone Art, signed a memorandum of understanding to jointly put together this marvel. Inshallah, we will do that. And at the end, I just want to read out few of the objectives which we have together with Capital Smart City have put together. Because as I said earlier, the Texla Stone Art, although is a private company, but it is also a social enterprise to begin with. We are very concerned about the dying art of sculpturing and the stone art which belong to this area. And when we see the artisans and the artists suffering without any consideration of their occupational health, without any welfare of any kind for their families and children, and above all, for the continuation of their artisanship to the next generations, we have decided that this social enterprise will basically be taking up the welfare of the artisans in this area. So, how we have articulated our joint VN is in 6 objectives, and I will read these out to you. Thank you for bearing with me. First, to support the artisans of Texla in stone carving products. 2, to ensure occupational health of artisans, which is of special significance to this project. 3, to display and sell the products without intermediate bodies and middlemen, so that the artisans themselves can have better businesses and better returns on their small investments. 4, to hold international and national exhibitions, seminars, to highlight the history of Texla and Gandhara of its ancient culture. 5, to serve as a resource center located within Capital Smart City on anything related to stone art and craft, which will be the requirements of the city itself and its dwellers when they construct their own buildings. And lastly, to establish Gandhara Center as an attraction to Buddhist countries. By the way, Buddhism is the 5th or 4th largest religion in the world today. Whole of Southeast Asia, China, and so many other countries have more than 1 billion Buddhists sitting there. And Texla, very few people know, is a holy place for them. So we can promote in a very strategic way the travel and trade from these countries to our part of the world. And we will be attracting these countries and their travelers. And we want to establish our center and sculptures there, which themselves become a places to visit. Capital Smart City, thank you for considering all this, and thank you for your partnership and your confidence in us. Thank you.